hand over to you. You're welcome, James.
Thank you so much, Charles. Thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. My name is James. Like Charles said, I'm 53, and my background is IT, mainly IT, but I also I've done a bit of retail, business consulting, publishing, and I've worked between 2003 to 2018 in oil and gas for Shell and DAX. Then I moved to Ghana. From Cameroon, I moved to Ghana, and I've been part running an NGO and also doing this, training people in project management. So it's a pleasure meeting you happy people. And hopefully what I'm going to share today will be of interest. I've taken note of some of the expectations, and I'm sure at the end of my talk, Charles will be able to throw more light. Some people want to know more about project management, the ethics of project management, problem solving and leadership skills, knowing the concepts of project management and how to apply it on my work, and so on. So all that is part of what we do at Step Up Business School. Okay, I'll just share my slides while I take my face off the camera. Since you know I'm a real person, I think I'll switch that off. Thank you very much. It's a bit of a different talk today, and I try to keep the how should I put it, the topic. I didn't want to give it away. I told Charles, okay, I'll do this if I don't explain what it is beforehand. So people will just have to discover it. So the topic is if only you knew. Now, as you will hopefully see as I go through the talk, if only we knew coming from what I'm going to present, and also from different angles. And it will hopefully get you thinking about the way your life is going. So anyway, let's leave it at that, okay? The 20th century has been on record as the bloodiest century. If we look at the 16th century, conflict-related deaths were about 1.6 million. And the population at that time was just under 500 million people. And the conflict-related deaths as share of population was just 0.3%. 17th century, a lot more people were killed through conflicts. 6 million. Against a population in the world at that time of 579 million people, a conflict to population ratio of 1%. The 18th century, a lot more people were killed, 7 million through conflicts. And then we had a world population of 757 million people. Similar ratio to 17th century. And then the 19th century, 19 million people were killed through conflicts. And we had just over 1 billion people at that time living in the world. And a ratio of 1.6%. Now, the 20th century, which was the century we just had, say 23 years ago, it ended. 109.7 million people died through conflicts. And the world population was just over 2.5 billion. I know it ended when the century ended, we had more people. And we had 4.4% conflict to death ratio. A lot of the conflicts of the 20th century was the First World War and the Second World War, which saw a lot of people killed. And we all have seen this sort of, photos where people, certain individuals came up with ideologies that, got the world into a very threatening situation. Many people were killed, lots of atrocities. And we see that even in Africa, of course, we see the case of Leopold II was King of Belgium, who took the Congo as his own personal property. And some experts say 10 million people were killed. Some say up to 20 million people were killed. And it was a situation of death and exploitation. And today the Congo is still beset with a lot of violence. I remember training a gentleman who was working for the United Nations, not for Step Up, it was an Indian company I worked for. And he is working in the Congo. And he said, James, we have about 120 armed groups in the Congo. And the United Nations and the government and other agencies are trying to see how to bring peace. Now, think about it, 120 different armed groups. And the issue there is the resources of the Congo. So I move on. With that backdrop, how about our century? Is it going to be bloodier? Because one thing that you find with human beings is as we get with time, as time goes on, we develop more knowledge. We gain knowledge of our environment. We become very innovative. But also, it seems like we become more evil as we see how, if you look at what's happened in the 20th century. Now, we are just over 20 years since this 21st century started. And we've seen that it kicked off with the World Trade Center. Not the number of people who were killed, but the fact that the United States decided to declare war on terrorism. We saw, even in Europe, many people died through the heat wave in 2003. And then in 2004, a huge tsunami in the Indian Ocean, devastated Indonesia and neighboring countries. 150,000 people died. I don't know if some people remember this. Then there have been earthquakes, there have been droughts, and so on. And of course, we see some of, like the top left picture is the World Trade Center. On the top right is a tsunami. But now we see in Canada huge fire. Okay. Huge forest fires. I read a BBC report that said something like over 100,000 football fields. That is the surface area that was about a month ago that's been burned. And we even see people in New York feeling the effect of these fires. The smoke is getting down to New York. And we can go on. We know about COVID. Who doesn't know about COVID? We see over 6 million people around the world were killed. And then many, many, many people have been affected. We got into a lockdown, lots of businesses collapsed. New businesses came up, the sort of opportunity to deliver services or goods to people who are at home. The world was, in a sense, shut down. I would have thought that the great nations of the world, the powers of this world, will be able to contain something like COVID, but it flattened everybody. What happened to the knowledge that we've gathered in medicine, in health? What happened to the innovation that we've done in science that something like a virus like this can flatten the whole world? Questions. We see a lot of threats coming from, North Korea. We see China flexing its muscles. We see the US flexing its muscles. At the moment, we see NATO expanding. And, you ask yourself, what is going on? What is being prepared here? What is cooking? And then on the 22nd of May, 2023, the head of the World Health Organization, a gentleman who, I'll say, led the world and tried to manage COVID, said this, and I quote, "The end of COVID-19 as a global health emergency is not the end of COVID-19 as a global health threat. The threat of another variant emerging that causes new surges of disease and deaths remains, and the threat of another pathogen emerging with even deadlier potential remains." Now, if I was reading between the lines of this statement, this gentleman is a diplomat, so you have to understand how they speak. But we have to listen with different air. If I can summarize this statement, what the World Health Organization is telling us is that there is an even deadlier threat, disease threat coming. I'll repeat. There is an even deadlier pandemic coming. Let's move on. Today, there is a war going on between the Ukraine and Russia. Russia has its reasons why it decided to do a special military operation, as they call it. A lot of people have died. Some estimates going up to about 350,000. But what is happening with this war? A lot of people have run away from Russia. Actually, if we start from when a lot of Western companies based in Russia pulled out, leading to a lot of displacement, a lot of jobs being lost. We are seeing a lot of young Russian men, especially, being conscripted into the war, and a lot of them running away from Russia to neighboring countries because they don't want to take part in the war. Who wants to die? When you do not sign up, like you're not a military person. We see a lot of devastation in Ukraine. I had a friend who, a Cameroonian, married a Ukrainian. And as the war started, he sent me a text that, "James, would you believe it? I just been spending, like the past few months, I spent so much money trying to set up a real estate project." I said, "You know what? You better get out of that place. Your life and the life of your wife and your children is more important than money." So he made his way to Germany, and he's been there since. And of course, I'm sure some of you good people are here, and you probably have some persons or people who have been affected by this war. We see a lot of reconfiguration of world military alliances. On one side, NATO is expanding. We'll see people like Sweden and Norway joining and all that, others thinking of doing so. We see on the other side, Russia, China, they are tightening their alliances. The head of the British, I don't know if it was the armed forces or defense force, more or less put the British forces in alert that, in a sense, we are very close to war. And all these alliances means a lot of movement, a lot of spending. Recently, NATO was having some, military maneuvers in Germany, where all the NATO countries were doing some Air Force maneuvers, tests and stuff like that. And what to me has been very, which something I can feel, and I'm sure you ladies and gentlemen, is the high inflation. Okay, higher food and grocery prices, things like even toothpaste, toilet roll, the food, eggs, everything has gone up. Look at fuel prices, 3-4 times the price. Even in Europe, which depends on Russian gas, the Russians have been threatening to turn off the gas. And so the Europeans are now looking to Africa. And I know countries like Germany are already talking to Nigeria to see how to set up a project to pipe gas from Nigerian oil fields through to the north of Nigeria, through to the Sahara Desert, under the Mediterranean Sea, all the way north to Europe. We see the Europeans talking to the East Africans and other West African countries on more or less the same thing. But this war is also increasing a lot of stress, not only to the Ukrainians and the Russians, but people around, because they're thinking, big Russia, what are they going to do next? And of course, there's destabilization to the global financial and economic system. Some of it directly related to the war, some indirectly. We've seen a lot of banks closing in the US. And we see a lot of people moving to digital ways of doing business, like cryptocurrency and things like that. Another threat, which is really looming, is we see countries like the US pushing the LGBTQ plus ideology, threatening African countries, South American countries. If they don't accept this thing, they will not receive aid. They will not be their partners anymore. And as if they are the ones aiding us. We are the ones who always aided these people. It's just that, well, I'm sure you knew this. We see something really new happening in the horizon that is challenging the world order and the way God has set things in terms of marriage, in terms of sex, and things like this. We are seeing satanic churches openly practicing in the US. Miami is now being proclaimed as a city of purchase of public sex. That means you can be going to the church or anywhere you want to go in Miami, and you can just buy sex openly. Germany has just made incest lawful. That means a cousin can have sex with a cousin, a sister can have sex with a brother. It was against the law before, now no problem. Canada, very liberal, progressive nation. They have made bestiality lawful. Now, if you don't believe what I'm saying, check it out. That means you can have sex with an animal. In Spain, they have allowed films, pornographic films, in high schools and universities. Things that used to be done in the hidden, in hiding. Now you can have it open. So, and the West is slowly moving towards accepting pedophilia. These are adults having sex with little children. They are not using the word pedophilia in some quarters in the West. They are now calling it MAP, actually, in the States, not MOP. And MAP stands for minor attracted persons. So pedophilia, no, it's a bit too bad a word. Let's use something softer. something more appealing. These are people who are just naturally attracted to minors. It's nothing bad. That's the way they were made. Because the whole LGBTQ agenda is about saying, well, we were made like this. A woman being attracted to a woman, a man to a man. You can change your gender now. And so a lot of perversion is being normalized. I don't know if you are catching my drift, but let's move on. Let's go down to good old Africa. Corruption has been one of the banes of Africa. When we look at sub-Saharan Africa, we are the most corrupt part of the world. You know, Somalia, South Sudan, Equatorial Guinea, Burundi, Chad, Comoros, DRC, Congo, Nigeria, Cameroon, Uganda, Gabon. They top the league of corruption, and so on. Frankly, if you look in sub-Saharan Africa, the least corrupt nations are probably Seychelles, Botswana, Cape Verde, Rwanda, Mauritius, Namibia, Sao Tome and Principe. These are countries you don't even hear about them. They don't really pull their weight. The big guys, the prominent people, are extremely corrupt. We know it, we are in these countries, we feel it. Good old Africa. We are suffering from political instability. We saw what happened in Mali not long ago. We saw what happened in Burkina Faso just recently. In Guinea, where Alpha Conde was kicked out in a coup. And this guy had just finished a course with the Americans, the American military. We see what's happening in Sudan, where two egoistic military people are fighting each other and decimating the whole country. We saw what happened in Chad, where the son of the president took over from the president that was killed in the battle. They didn't follow the constitution, and the French came and said, okay, this is what we agreed on, and installed the guy. On and on we can go. We saw what happened in Nigeria in the elections, because that to me was a stolen vote. When you look all over Africa, there's just so much corruption, risk of coup d'etat, political instability. And this is leading to food insecurity. Forget that the prices of food is so high, but people are very hungry. I was reading a story in Kenya, how a mother with children, she had to boil stones, listen to me, stones, to give semblance to the children that they had food coming. And she will weep and cuddle these children to sleep. Just by boiling the stones in the pot, the children will feel that, at least we're going to eat today. But no. I remember reading a story. This is in Nigeria and also in Burkina Faso. People eating grass, people eating leaves from trees to survive. If we look in these countries like Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, Nigeria, Cameroon, Chad, Libya, DRC, Mozambique, Kenya, Somalia, we are seeing a lot of jihadist movements that are causing so much havoc and instability across Africa. Places that you never could have heard things like that. It's now becoming very current. We are seeing the influence of China in Africa. I don't know if you gentlemen and ladies know about this eminent Kenyan Professor P.L.O. Lumumba. P.L. Lumumba said, if Africa continues like this, in 30 years, we'll be recolonized. And the people who are going to recolonize Africa are the Chinese. The Chinese have practically taken over most of our projects in terms of infrastructure. But the question I ask myself is, this is the same China 30 years ago that some African countries were even aiding. The same China 30 years ago that was very underdeveloped, suffering. How come the Chinese are so strong, so powerful, that even America owes most of its trillions of dollars of debt to China? And where have we been? Have we been sleeping in Africa? That the people like Nkrumah, Nyerere of the 60s, it was like life was better in the 60s when they were looking for getting independence than now. So are we been going backwards or what? That we are being threatened by the Russians and by the Chinese because we're like, okay, we don't want the Europeans and the Westerners anymore. But then again, you know, are these other people better? I don't think so. They're all looking for their interests. And if we're not careful, we'll be recolonized and it'll be even worse than what happened with the Westerners. China is, like I said, investing a lot of money. A lot of Africans have a lot of negative views of the Chinese. I'm a Cameroonian, and I'm telling you, in Cameroon, it is very negative. But the government is very piling the Chinese. And it's happening even here in Ghana. Now, hopefully you have got a drift of what I'm driving at. In project management, one of the things that you have to do is be sensitive to your environment. The environment that you have inside, that means the business, called the internal environment. And then the environment outside, what is happening in the town, in the nation, and out in the world, because they influence what happens in the project. Some of you are probably building houses or have just built houses, or you understand the building trade and you have been looking at the prices of materials, how they have jumped. We've talked about food prices, we've talked about fuel, the materials, you know, cement, rods, these are the building blocks of every nation. So I'll give you a pause and I'll move to another topic. Just look back. I like history. If you look at the way human beings have evolved, I'm not talking about evolution per se, but I'm talking about evolved in their knowledge and their use of their skills. In the 18th century was about mechanization using, you know, steam power. Then the Industrial Revolution, you know, using machines and all that. And then in the 20th century, we started using computers and electronics. Automation started kicking in. And now what we are seeing in the 21st century is more communication, social media, computer networks, mass customization, interconnectivity. The world is becoming interconnected. And now we are getting into robotics, artificial intelligence. I'm driving at something. So what happens in one part of the world affects other parts of the world. And I wasn't here when the Second World War started, or when it was happening. I wasn't born. But I'm sure that when that war was happening in Europe, Africa was not really affected that much. Okay, some Africans went to war, but look at the fact that a war between Russia and Ukraine is affecting us, or something that happens in one part of the world, a fake news or a news story. Sorry, some people play a lot of music. Anything that happens in one part of the world now will affect every other person. Whether it's a threat or an opportunity. I know I've been talking about threats, but it means that because of the fact that the world is so connected, if you have a solution in Ghana, it is feasible that that solution could be for the whole world. Let's bring in my friend, meet James Ntui. James Ntui is a professional futurist. He lives in San Francisco in the US. Now, I like what he does. He's a professional futurist, so he looks into the future. He focuses his work on the importance of long-term systemic thinking, emphasizing the power of openness, transparency, and flexibility as catalysts for building a more resilient society. Now, if you are a project management professional like myself, I've been working for 30 years. I've been training project managers for 15, and I have a bit of knowledge about this field. If you look about what I've just said, you just pick a lot of things about project management. Long-term view is about vision. Systemic thinking is one of the principles of project management. System thinking. Emphasizing the power of openness, transparency, and flexibility. Now, there is a project management approach we call agile project management. It's a more modern approach, and it has been seen as the more successful approach. When you use that approach, especially in the world that we are today, you have more success. And openness, system thinking, long-term thinking, transparency, and flexibility helps to build a more resilient society. What does resilience mean? Meaning, whatever the threat, whether it's war or disease or coup d'etat or whatever the threat is, you'll be able to resist. You'll be able to go through. Now, when you look at dear old Africa, because if I check the participants, it's that all of us are African, so we can talk. We're at home. Let's go into the kitchen and cook this thing. Openness, transparency, flexibility, long-term thinking, system thinking. Think about the place that you are working. How many of us work in a workplace where there's openness, transparency, flexibility, and order? System thinking, long-term thinking. How many of us here, Africans, live in countries where the leaders are thinking long-term? They are thinking systems. They are thinking openness. Actually, they are actually practicing openness and transparency and flexibility. How many African nations, African families are resilient to what is coming next? Listen, remember what I said about the World Health Organization and about what is happening even now with the high prices and inflation? So, our friend James Ntui created what we call the Bani model, and we use this in our project management. And these are some of the things he said. He says, by ignoring tomorrow, we undermine today. Participatory complexity may well be the key descriptor of the 21st century in our economics, in our politics, in our everyday lives. Most of us who work as professional futurists never really stop gathering information. You never know when a provocative, potential disruptive new development might appear. Resilience is all about being able to overcome the unexpected. Sustainability is about survival. The goal of resilience is to thrive. Several scenarios will likely coexist in the future of agency by 2035. Human beings believe they are in control, but they are not. Humans know they are not in control, and they are okay with that. Third scenario, a limited number of AI augmented humans have control. By 2045, the third could result in digital dictators, maybe even a full digital duplication of a notorious authoritarian leader of the past, able to live on forever inside everybody's devices. Resilience is about able to overcome the unexpected. Sustainability is about survival. The goal of resilience is to thrive. I want to repeat this because it's very important in what we're discussing. So this is the model that it came with. You know, in project management, we have been used to what called a VUCA model. And this was a model that came from the 80s and was shaped by the Cold War. It serves to describe the situation of ambiguity and complexity. And VUCA stands for volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous. And through our friend here, James Ntui, who came up with this Barney model, he started working on this from 2016. And from 2020, shaped by the pandemic and by climate change, he came up with this model. And this model is fast replacing the VUCA model. And the Barney model stands for brittle, anxious, nonlinear, and incomprehensible. Now, what does it look like? The Barney model, when you look at brittle, it gives you the illusion of strength, but no. It means that we are embracing a brittle world, a world that can easily break, a world that you see the powers that be, they all look strong. They have a lot of military, but really, they are not that strong. Oh, you look at your government, oh, they all look great. They have military, but they are not that strong. Or you might think it's your bank account, or you might think, oh, because you went to school. No, my friend, that won't cut it. Anxious gives the illusion of control. And the more people hear and see bad news, the more they are stressed out. They feel they lose control. We saw what happened with COVID. We've seen what's happening today in the world. And we see what is happening in Africa. Sudan just blew up unexpectedly. Who knows when that's going to end? And any country can be next, where you see people who live in that country, moving to another country because of war. I am not a prophet of doom, but I'm just telling you reality. Non-linear gives the illusion of predictability, but you think that you know to move from A to B, but no, it's not that simple. Then incomprehensible. It gives the illusion of knowledge that you know it, but if you really knew, you will know that you don't know. So when we look at the leadership traits of the future, and leadership is a key thing in project management, and I know some of you in the comments say you want to understand leadership skills. Actually, project management is about leadership. To be a project manager, you need to be a great leader. Brittleness requires resilience and purpose-driven. Remember, we're talking about resilience with this Barney model a lot. Anxiety asks for compassion and brutal optimism. Non-linearity calls for agility and adaptability. This is all project management. Agility, being agile, means no matter the situation, you can be able to swim through. Incomprehensibility demands sense-making and collaboration. And in project management, You need to be somebody who can set up an environment of openness, trustworthiness, honesty, transparency, so that you can have collaboration. And in a lot of our churches, in a lot of our families, in a lot of our village communities, in a lot of our businesses, there's hardly openness, collaboration, and honesty. What you find is little dictators all over the place, toxic leaders. If only you knew. So my question to you, are you prepared for the next pandemic? Are you prepared for the next economic collapse, like the last one that happened in 2008? That saw the emergence of blockchain and, Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. Because I can tell you a lot of banks are failing, and more banks will be failing. And soon, what happened to the post office will happen to the banks. Soon, our children will be saying, we used to go to the bank, write a check, stand in like, come on, how did you people manage that? Is your family prepared for the next upheaval? Is your nation prepared for political, economic, and social crisis? In project management, as I've touched on a few things, we have 12 principles. Stewardship, meaning you need to be able to take care of what you've been given to, like a steward, a caretaker. Value, you need to focus on delivering value. Tailoring, that means there are many ways you can do project management, but you need to tailor whatever I have to do based on the context, the size of the project. Risk is about threats and opportunities. And I started talking about threats. The team, it's about working collaboratively with people. System thinking. System thinking is so important. Your family is a system because it's about being connected with people and taking decisions and doing things. In your business where you work, that's a system. If you are running a project, you have a system. Even inside a project, there are systems. So a project is like a small company running within a company, a system within a system. A country is a system, and inside a country, there are millions of systems. So we need to be system thinking, in a sense. How do we work with one another? How do we take decisions? Quality, of course. We need to make sure that we deliver whatever we are delivering the project to the highest quality, to the satisfaction of the customer. Adaptability and resilience, more in tune with my talk this evening. My talk this evening is focusing on risk, systems thinking, adaptability, and resilience, complexity, change, and leadership. So I'm picking on these principles. I'm sure you're already catching my drift. Adaptability and resilience, being able to adapt with the world, the way things are happening, and being able to be tough despite these changes. Because the world, if there's one thing that is certain, is change. The world is complex. At times we think we know, but we don't know. We need to know more, and so on. If only you knew, you'd have realized now that if there's one thing that is certain, is change. If only you knew, you'd have realized that there is one thing that is certain, is uncertainty. If only you knew, you realize that, but the world is increasing in innovation, but also increasing in evil, and also increasing in knowledge, and also becoming connected. And if only you knew, you realize that, there's a lot of virtual working. I train a lot of people. Most of my training is virtual. For Step Up and for other companies I train for. And most of the people I train for are in the West. They're working from home. And I am also working from home. That means I can also set up a business in Ghana from home with customers all over the world. If only you knew, you would have found out that one thing that is certain is, you see how the climate is changing. I have talked about the fact that one of the approaches in project management methodologies is called Agile. This gentleman, if you can mute yourself, somebody is noise in the background. Please, can you mute your mic? Thank you. So when you have all this uncertainty, all this complexity, all this change and threats happening, you need to develop a new mindset. You need to be prepared for change and uncertainty. And you need to be ready to navigate all of this with information. You need to have real-world problem-solving skills and tools in order to stay relevant and in order to compete in today's world. So it's about leveraging on this interconnectivity that we find ourselves in. I tell my trainees, if some are here, they'll say, I will say, think big, think global. If only you knew, you'll be thinking big and thinking global. When you start thinking, oh, I just have this small job in Accra, okay, I just want to collect a salary and make it. My friend, if tomorrow that business collapses, you'll be in deep trouble. You need to think out of Accra, out of Ghana, out of Africa. You need to think global. I need to think big. You can even stay local and work global. You need to be able to earn in hard currency, because look at the Ghana cedi. When I came to Ghana, it was like, I don't know, 4.5 cedi to $1. Today, it's between 11 and 12 to $1. And when I tell my friends in Cameroon, I say, this is how it is. We have a local currency which is fluctuating. They can't believe it. I know we have even worse problems than Ghana, actually, when it comes to politics and economy. But we have the CFA, which is hooked to the euro. So it doesn't fluctuate much. We don't like it though, because we prefer to have our own currency, because we are controlled by the French. But that's another story. You need to be able to have a business that can scale, that can grow. You need to be able to attract global customers. You know, I was talking to my boss, Charles, the other day, and I was saying how I have a friend who just started a company. And when I asked a friend that how many customers does he have, he said, none. I said, have you heard of digital marketing? He says, no. I'm like, oh, what do you mean you don't know digital marketing? These days, you don't go to the radio station or you put up posters like in the old days to attract customers. You use digital marketing. You use the tool of connectivity to attract customers. So that I can even attract customers that are global. You need to be able to follow the sun. What I mean by follow the sun is you need to be relevant so that when the people in Australia who are, say, 8 hours or 12 hours ahead are up, you are working. When the people in America are sleeping, you are relevant. If the people in China are awake, you are also be able to provide for them services. So you are following the sun. So no matter the time of day, 24/7, you need to develop a system that is global so that you can also recruit globally, work flexibly, be in charge, reduce your overheads, and have a work-life balance. And we are seeing a lot of virtualization all over the world. And many people who are working from home, who are using all these tools, they are having the benefits, even in Africa. So now what? Now what? What do you do? Think big, think global. That's number one thing. If you are thinking small and you're thinking local, start thinking big and thinking global. Number two, educate yourself. As Charles said, we do provide training in a classroom in North Legon. I'll be there tomorrow. I'll spend the whole day. I love going there, interacting with my class. We also do online. We are now developing some videos. Actually, I spent the past 3 weeks working on that. And of course, there are books and so on. Educate yourself. If you just have one skill that you are getting money from, my friend, what if there's a pandemic and then your business closes? You'll be home. Doing what? Eating grass. Educate your children. You see, a lot of us in Africa, we pamper our children a lot. I'm telling you, we do. We go through the normal education and we leave the children, or let them go to school, they'll learn. No, what they're learning in school is outdated, is archaic. I'm telling you, I have many children. Actually, I have 2 of my children, they're homeschooled now. They're 15 and 16. I found out that the school, they don't even like the school. I say, learn. They do a lot of their things online. And they are learning things that their mates in school are not learning. They are learning online trading. They're learning coding. I've told them, I said, when they get to 18, they'll start making money. When I was in the UK, I had young people who come and work. At that time, I was running a supermarket. 15-year-olds will be working in the tills. I remember this lady, Lucy. She always looked stressed. I said, Lucy, why do you look so stressed? I said, because she has to pay rent. She was 15, pay rent to her parents for living in her parents' home. These are people who know how to be tough because life is tough. So educate your children on relevant skills, not just any education. Don't worry, I'll come to that. Educate your spouse, your partner. It shouldn't be just one person winning the bread, because that's not resilience. The world is different. Anything can happen. We need to have backups of backups. Educate your relatives. A lot of us, we are struggling because we have tens of people lining up behind us, begging for money. They were begging 10 years ago. They are still begging today. Come on. There are some skills that you can easily learn and start making money. What are some of these things that we need to learn? And I'm telling you, a lot of the things they're teaching children in the school these days. I'm a trainer and I have 7 children. So I know about children. Have you ever gone to a school they are teaching children? Is there a subject in schools called money? Why aren't they learning? We all are looking for the dollar. Even though we're looking CD, but we're looking for the dollar. But how come we didn't learn about money? We don't learn about business. How come we're not learning these things? Just by becoming a PMP, you can start training. It can be a side gig for you. And we have a lot of trainers in Step Up. You know, they train weekends and stuff. You can train to be a business analyst within 6 months or less. Artificial intelligence. If you know how people are using artificial intelligence, just software to even write books. I was watching a video today where somebody just gave a title, and then the software wrote the whole report. Online trading. Do you know that you can trade on currencies, both fiat, and I mean normal currencies and cryptocurrencies online? You can trade between dollar and euro. Young people are doing this, and it's legal. I'm not talking about you know, fraudsters or scammers. I'm talking about trading. Like doing a stock exchange, trading. You can just be doing your trading on your laptop or your phone. Cyber security. There are courses to cyber security. I'm an IT person, so I know about this. Because the internet, just because of this interconnectivity, there's a lot of insecurity. Coding. Coding is, oh, this one. Write computer code, software code. I know companies in the US who are recruiting Africans. You work here in Accra. They pay you in dollars, but you are working for a US company. The Asians are doing it. The Chinese are doing it. The Indians are doing it. You can do mobile application, the coding, you can do all types of coding. The blockchain, this is another, to me, it's like Internet 3.0. The blockchain is extremely powerful. That's what is going to kill the banks. Robotics, cloud computing, video production. Look at the way TikTok and YouTube and all the social media, the way people are creating content. There is even a young Ghanaian guy. What is this guy called? Is this Madhu? This is what I can't remember his name. A young Ghanaian guy. The man is extremely popular in Africa, just going around shooting videos, talking about Africa, video production, and he has a team, of course, who are there to. Wademaya, there you go. Thank you. And there are many of them like that. Food waste. Look at the whole Africa is full of plastics. You can just get a machine in China and you can convert waste to something valuable. Food processing, just processing it, just be a middleman. Content development, drop shipping. Drop shipping is so easy. You can train in projects. That's what we do. I trained a gentleman recently. Within 2 months, he became a PM. Social media marketing, which is part of digital marketing. And these are things that we can train ourselves, our spouses, our young people very easily to gain that resilience, because the world is different. So build resiliency in your employment, in your businesses, and by investing. And you need to be bold and courageous this day to adapt to the threats that are out there. Diversify your income. Don't just have one stream of income. I remember in September 2012, I attended a conference. A Nigerian guy was an accountant, was speaking. He says, if you don't have at least 5 sources of income, you suffer. At least 5 sources of income. I'll leave it there. We all know about Warren Buffett. We call him the Oracle of Omaha. Great investor, one of the richest men in the world. He started very early, but he's regretted not starting at the age of 11. He said he started at the age of 11 invested. He could have started earlier. He was a bit late. Can you imagine that? We all know Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And if you don't know, check him out. Most of us are employees, and we all own 5% of the world. I'm reading from the middle. The other group of people are just self-employed. They form another huge majority, but who own very little. The rich people, the people who have built resiliency, they are business owners and investors. In project management, there are 25 million vacancies between now and 2030. So you're looking at around nearly 3 million jobs in the project management field each year globally. The reason I tell my trainees to think big and think global is because the PMP gives you is a global passport. You can walk in. They don't say, oh, where did you get your PMP? It doesn't say you got it in Accra. It's a professional certificate. Because if there's one thing businesses do cherish is projects, and they need project managers globally. So prepare for change. So you need to learn, you need to adapt, and you need to adjust. Because if there's something that is certain, it's change. I need to gain real-life problem-solving skills that I've just shown you. You learn, you change, and you apply those skills. So I'll finish by saying that, in project management, we say project management is application of knowledge, skills, tools, and techniques to project activities to meet project objectives. And in project management, we learn to know what is happening around us. And this is what I've been trying to share with you tonight, ladies and gentlemen. And if only we convert our lives and the lives of our children and our loved ones as a project in such trying times, knowing that evil will increase, uncertainty will increase, problems will increase, challenges are increasing. How about you? How about you, your family, your loved ones? Are you going to increase your mindset, your knowledge, your skills, the tools that you have, your plans and your processes? That's a question you will have to answer. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you.
Wow, amazing. If only you knew. Wow. Amazing, amazing. So let me pick a few comments. I see people doing thumbs up and all that. Let me pick a few comments. This is Mastermind. It's a gathering of project professionals. So let me pick a few comments from you and questions, and then we'll call it a day. Yes, Solomon says, thank you, sir. That's an amazing delivery. If only you knew. I was wondering how, yeah, okay, so Godwin too says that, good one. Oh, people are asking for the slides. Okay, so I have good news for you. So you would have both the slides and then the recordings. So yes, you would have them. I'll post them here where you can get the slides and then the video. All right, if only you knew. Any is there any question, comments? Okay, so yes, we'll let you know. We would rather put them on our we'll put them on our YouTube channel, and then you can download them or you can play over and over again. So what it is that people complain that when we put them on Zoom or we give the Zoom link, you're unable to download and all that. So we will put them on our YouTube channel. It should be there from tomorrow, and then you can download it. Yeah. So yes, great presentation. I see. Okay. All right. God bless you for opening our eyes to see what we should see. Okay. Insightful from iPhone. Grateful. Preparing ourselves for the future from JC. All right. So after having the PMP certificate, is there any in Ghana where we can have hands-on practicals or internship for experience? We're trying to put something like that together, Noble. So when we are through, we'll let you know. Yes, but it's important you first get a PMP certification. That would open so many doors for you globally. You are not limited to only Ghana. It opens a lot of doors for you. A lot of our students, once they update their LinkedIn profile that they are PMP, they start receiving offers globally. So yes, all right. There's one new comment.
Charles, let me add to that, because I think it's something that a lot of people also benefit from. When you become a PMP, if say you are already working, which in most cases is true, yes, you'll be actually, even before you get certified, from what you are learning every day, you'll be applying it at work, and you'll be seeing the difference. And more so when you become a PM. Also, as Charles said, you'll be able to, the PMP marks you out. Definitely. Trust me, I was a PMP in 2008. It marks you out. And these days, it's even better because it's about the global aspect of today. To be able to get opportunities globally. Because if you go online and look at the jobs, they're asking for PMPs. When you have a PMP, okay, that's it. That's all people want to know about. So yes, the opportunities are there.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, James. Thank you.
Hello.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Ishmael.
Good evening.
Yes, good evening.
How are you?
I'm blessed. Thank you very much, sir. How are you too?
I'm fine by the grace of God.
Great.
Yeah, I have a question.
Your line was breaking up. Okay,
our...
I can hear you. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So my question is that it talks about the environment, how
Okay.
Chinese will be very soon colonize the Africa, maybe as he suggests or somebody prophesied, but in 30 years time, Chinese will colonize our Africa. Now, in an environment where you think that you can change your settings or your system, but you realize that you have to collaborate with people who have the same mindset for you to be able to break through.
Yes.
But in Africa, where you are a project manager, you are working on a project and there is a sabotage or sabotage around, people are sabotaging you because you want to do the right thing. How do you manage that system? How do you manage? That is the cause of our downfall, because people are sabotaging you because of what they will get for their selfish gain. How do you manage that system? Now, my second one is that, is it possible for PNP to have a global alliance, our voice to be heard in...
Okay, I'll let James answer, but James, if you got him, he would want to know how to manage those who sabotage colleagues. Like if you are being sabotaged, if you're a professional and you are being sabotaged, how do you go about it? We have a few minutes to, in fact, we have overshot our time, but we will leave here in a few minutes, so please don't leave. Yeah. James, can you hear me? Yes.
Yeah, I can hear you. I always tell my colleagues and people I train, always stay on the good side of history. Always do the right thing and do things right. There'll always be saboteurs, especially in Africa. You see, there's always going to be people who think small. You might be sabotaged. You might even lose your job. But then again, the fact that you have a global mindset, you even go to a better job. You see, when you develop a system where, you see, it's first in the mind. When you develop a mindset that is resilient, even if you get sabotaged, you always bounce back. And you see, this talk is just to get us to think strategically, to think that, okay, maybe we need, well, it's not even maybe, you need always a fallback, more than one fallback. Okay, so you might even be sabotaged to the point where you lose your job. But if madam is working and the children are also earning money instead of just playing video games, you can find a lot of children just do things that are not really resourceful. Then at least you have something that will keep you going until you get something better. So always stay on the right side of history. There's always going to be people who have got small minds who want to sabotage. That is fine. Okay, but don't play their game. Do the right thing, do things right. I
Great.
think that's all I have to say. I mean,
Yeah, and
you
I
can't
think
go into the gutter
that's
with them. As
yes.
they'll beat you in their in their game.
Yes, yes, that's true. All right, Ishmael, I trust you are fine with that. Yes, so
Yeah.
okay, so let me give you a brief about the.
I'm very,
All right. All right, so let me give you a brief about project management professional training. Like I said from the beginning, we have 3 different sessions. 2 are already running, the in-person and then the online. So you can go to our website. I'll put the address. It's on the screen now. So you can go there and then you select PMP training and you would register. The registration is free. One of our colleagues will call you and then arrange for you to start class. We will be launching the on-demand PMP course from Monday, hopefully. So you can just and that one obviously will be cheaper than the online or the live instructor sessions. Yeah. So if you have any concern, you can call the numbers on the screen, and then we would be happy to help you. And once you call any of these numbers, we'll speak with you, and then I will talk to you personally, and then we'll see how we can help you to become a PMP to boost your professional profile. If there's no question, I would want to say a big thank you to James. But before I say that, let me
Charles,
call him. Yes, I was going to call you to give us your final words, and then I'll draw the curtains down.
Kingsley asked a pertinent question. He says,
Okay.
in respect to getting your children involved in expanding wealth and business, is there an app or a website to link ourselves to, please? So my answer to Kingsley is call our numbers. Okay. Call our numbers. Shoot us in an email. Give you all. Okay. In case of any question anybody has, you have our contacts on the screen. Meet us and we will give the answer.
All right.
Okay.
Yes, let me call Engineer Bone, and I'm sure Engineer Bone's question would bring us to the close of the meeting. Engineer.
Yes, sir. Good evening.
Nice to hear from you again, sir. Yeah.
All right. So thank you so much for this presentation. And I must say, I agree with him 100%. For some time now, I came to realize that in this current situation of hardship, I've been brainstorming on how to make it in this current situation. And he is right. It's high time we all kind of, Ghanaians are smart, Africans are smart. We go outside and excel. So why should we belittle ourselves? We can do so much more. So all what I'm just saying is just kind of adding on to what our boss have said, that indeed there are various things in the country, wherever you have any stuff. Let's all have this positive mindset that there are areas we can make it, even in this profession, various professions. There are avenues. There are a lot of jobs around that we just need to identify them. So maybe from today, we all can go and then be thinking about how best we can get those areas that is highlighted so that we'll see how best we can fit ourselves into the system. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Engineer. Thank you. That's so true. Thank you. And it starts with we having confidence in ourselves. And one of the ways of having confidence in yourself is to make sure that you have the right qualification. I tell you, to boost the confidence. All right. Okay. All right. So let me call James for his final words. I'm sure that'll be in a few seconds, and then we'll draw the curtains down.
Well, thank you, Charles. I just want to thank everybody for, logging in, listening to us. Our prayer is that this will not be the last time we meet. Like Charles rightly put it, we are here offering project management training and the other trainings that are also offered and other things that we're planning. So we're here to serve you. We're here to make sure that you'll be better from where you are. So all I can say is thank you for listening to us. We hope we will meet again. And as Charles said, this is a monthly event. So keep your eyes open for the next session of our masterclass. Thank you very much.
All right. So thank you all. Thank you, everybody. We wish you all the best, and then we wish you the best in your profession. Make sure that you are rising to the top and the very top legitimately. God bless you. And then have the best in the rest of the year. You know, the first half is ending today, and then tomorrow begins the next half of the year. I wish you all the best. Goodbye.